Today we're tackling some pretty tough news about the passing of Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah, just 39 years old. Way too soon.
Exactly, and I think a lot of us know her best from those iconic roles like Dawn in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, who could forget Georgina in Gossip Girl?
Right, but today we're going to kind of go beyond those headlines
Yeah.
and look at a wider range of sources to really piece together a better picture of her life and career.
For sure, it's been a wave of shock and sadness online, and when the authorities first said it was due to natural causes,
Yeah.
it's not what you typically think of at that age.
No, not at all. And that really makes you want to,
It makes you want to look a little deeper.
yeah. And I mean, especially when you consider that this New York Post article mentioned that she had recently had a liver transplant.
Oh, wow.
And
That's a major piece of the puzzle.
right, it feels like.
It really does. A liver transplant is a huge procedure.
Yeah.
And even when it's successful, it can have a lasting impact on someone's health.
Absolutely.
So it's not a stretch at all to imagine how that could be connected to natural causes, even at a young age.
As you think about how complex, health can be,
Yeah,
and how even things that seem unrelated
absolutely.
can all kind of intersect.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, it really makes you want to look back on her career with a fresh perspective. We're talking about someone who started out on Law and Order, Nickelodeon's The Adventures of Pete and Pete. I mean,
Wow.
acting from such a young age.
It's incredible when you think about how early she started and, starting a career in the public eye that young. It really can shape an actor's path.
Yeah,
Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. I mean, it's like you're growing
it's
up.
under a microscope.
Under a microscope, exactly. Think about Trachtenberg in those early roles.
Yeah.
And then compare that to the intensity of a show like Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Yeah,
where she really became a household name as Dawn Summers.
and Buffy is still so beloved.
Oh, absolutely.
Even today, all these years later, it's a connection that many of you listening probably share.
For sure, it was a cultural phenomenon. I mean, Dawn, as the Slayer's little sister, she just added this whole other layer to the show.
Mm-hmm.
I bet a lot of you have vivid memories
Oh, yeah.
of specific episodes, character moments,
Yeah.
or even just like how the show made you feel.
Oh, absolutely. And then you've got Georgina Sparks in Gossip Girl.
Oh, right.
Talk about a character who could stir up trouble.
She knew how to bring the drama.
She owned that role.
Mhm.
She was fantastic.
It is fascinating to see that breadth in her career going from Nickelodeon to something like Gossip Girl, which has a totally different
Yeah.
tone and audience. I
Yeah.
think it really speaks to her versatility as an actress,
Mm-hmm.
that she could inhabit those different worlds so convincingly.
Totally. And you can really feel that impact she had online with all the tributes pouring in.
Yeah.
Blake Lively even shared this really touching throwback photo of them from the Gossip Girl set. And it's moments like that that really hit home.
They really do. It really makes you think about how we process the loss of public figures, even those we've never actually met. Their work becomes part of our lives.
Yeah.
And then when they pass, it can almost feel like a personal loss in a way, like this shared experience of grief, but also a way to connect with other people who felt that same impact.
For sure.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the life and career of Michelle Trachtenberg.
It's been heavy.
It has. It's been like a real roller coaster of emotions, hasn't it? From those early lighter roles to those really iconic parts in Buffy and Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot.
And we touched on some of the kind of heavier stuff too, like the whole natural causes thing
Right.
that the authorities determined, and maybe the connection to the liver transplant.
Exactly. It's just a reminder that even when things seem straightforward,
Yeah.
there can be these hidden layers there. And I think in light of that, it is even more important to remember that. Yeah.
Michelle Trachtenberg was more than just this sum of her roles.
Absolutely.
She was a person.
Yeah, she was a daughter, a friend, a colleague.
Exactly.
We might not know all the details of her personal life, but
Right?
the outpouring of grief from those who did know her, it just speaks volumes.
It really does. It tells you that she touched a lot of lives in a really profound way.
Yeah.
And I think it also speaks to her talent and her charisma,
Hmm.
like her ability to connect with people on a human level,
On and off screen.
on and off screen. Exactly.
And I think it's worth noting that, she navigated the often turbulent waters of child stardom
Oh, yeah.
with such grace and resilience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not an easy feat.
it is not.
Yeah.
There's so many young actors, they struggle with the pressure of fame and that transition into more adult roles.
Totally.
But she seemed to handle it all.
Yeah.
With poise and professionalism, like she had this innate understanding of the complexities of the industry.
She never let the spotlight overshadow her talent or her dedication to her craft. Absolutely, and that's what made her such a compelling figure. She was vulnerable, but strong, ambitious, but grounded, you know?
Yeah.
She had this unique ability to embody characters that were both relatable and aspirational. And it's that quality that makes us wonder what kinds of roles she might have taken on.
Has she lived?
Had she lived? Yeah.
It sparks the imagination.
It really does. Like, what kinds of characters would have challenged her? What stories would she have helped to bring to life?
Yeah, and I mean, it's impossible to say for sure, but you can kind of speculate
Yeah.
based on the trajectory of her career.
We can look at her incredible range, from comedic timing to dramatic depth. I mean, she could play the girl next door or the villain you love to hate.
Oh, yeah.
And she was just hitting her stride.
Yeah.
As an actress, she had so much more to give, so much more to explore. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You think about all the possibilities that were lost. But I think it's also a reminder to cherish the work that she did leave behind, to appreciate the impact she had on us, however big or small.
Absolutely. Even though she's gone, her legacy continues to inspire and entertain.
And her spirit lives on in the hearts of those who loved her. And in the memories she created through her art, it's a fitting tribute to such a talented actress who left us way too soon. So as we move into this last part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to shift the focus a little bit. Instead of dwelling on what might have been, let's celebrate what was.
I like that. Let's take a moment to highlight some of those most memorable performances.
Yeah.
The roles that really showcased her talent and left a lasting impression on audiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what stands out to you?
So many to choose from. But for me, it's that contrast between the early work and those later, more mature roles.
Yeah.
That really shows off her range.
Absolutely.
Like you have the quirky charm of Nona Mecklenburg
Yeah.
from The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Oh, yeah.
And then a few years later, she's in the supernatural world of Buffy,
Totally.
as Dawn Summers dealing with some pretty heavy stuff.
It's a great example of how she wasn't afraid to take on roles that were so different from anything she'd done before.
Right.
And she nailed them both. I think sometimes we as viewers, we get so used to seeing an actor in a specific type of role that we forget that they're capable of so much more.
Totally.
But she really proved that she could do comedy and drama with equal skill.
And then you have Georgina Sparks in Gossip Girl,
Oh my God.
a character who could be hilarious and terrifying.
At the same time.
Yeah, at the same time, she brought this amazing energy to that role.
Yeah.
You couldn't take your eyes off her.
Georgina was such a fantastic villain, so manipulative, so cunning, but with this underlying vulnerability that she managed to convey so perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, you almost felt sorry for her, even as she was wreaking havoc on everybody's lives.
It's that complexity
Yeah,
that makes a character memorable.
for sure.
And it makes you wonder, did those early roles influence her later work?
Yeah.
Like playing those comedic eccentric characters, did that give her the confidence to embrace those darker roles later on?
That's an interesting thought, maybe starting your career in a genre that allows for a little whimsy and exaggeration.
Yeah.
Maybe it gives you that freedom to explore a wider range of emotions.
Yeah.
Later on, like building a foundation of creative fearlessness.
It's also worth remembering that she was a child actor,
Yeah.
and that comes with a whole other set of challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, the entertainment industry is tough enough as it is.
Oh, tell me about it.
But imagine navigating all that at such a young age.
Yeah, the scrutiny, the expectations.
Yeah.
The constant spotlight. It's a lot to handle.
And yet she came out of it with her talent intact, her spirit unbroken.
It really speaks to her strength and resilience.
And it makes her passing feel all the more tragic.
It does.
It's like we lost someone who still had so much to offer.
So many stories left to tell.
It brings us right back to that question we've been pondering
Yeah.
throughout this whole deep dive. What might have been, what roles might she have taken on, what stories might she have brought to life?
It's impossible to say for sure, but we can imagine her tackling those complex, nuanced characters,
Yeah.
the ones that would challenge her emotionally and intellectually,
Mm-hmm.
maybe she would have transitioned into those more mature roles.
Right.
Exploring different genres, different mediums.
Or maybe she would have stepped away from acting altogether,
Oh, wow.
pursued other passions, and left a completely different kind of legacy.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless,
Yeah.
and that's both exciting and heartbreaking.
It really is. But ultimately, I think we're left with that bittersweet realization that her journey was cut short.
Yeah.
But even in its brevity, her life and her career offer these valuable lessons
Mhm.
about resilience, creativity, the power of storytelling.
Beautifully said. As we wrap up, I encourage everyone listening to go back and revisit some of her work.
Yeah.
Appreciate the nuances of those performances.
Yeah.
Remember the joy she brought to our screens.
And remember, even though she's gone, the stories she told and the characters she brought to life.
They will continue to resonate.
Michelle Trachtenberg may be gone, but her legacy lives on.
It does.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.